Hello and welcome to the Sunday League Pundit Show, episode 82. This week you have myself, Stretch, and a very good friend, Jim Jam. We do not have Tin Ribs this week.
No.
Still in prison. So what's speeding?
Yeah.
He was doing. Terrible.
Shocking.
Do we have a Jim Jam, the stat man, stat?
Yeah. So there's a player retiring at the end of this season, and he broke a record in December, actually. Not really a player that I'd heard of before, but that player was, if you'd heard of him, Dean Lewington.
I have not heard of him.
You've not heard of him?
I've not heard of him.
So, the guy only played for two clubs in his career. One being the original Wimbledon, before them being MK Dons.
Okay.
So whether or not that counts as one kind of club, I know it was kind of a swap over. But anyway, he set the record anyway for MK Dons. The previous record was held by John Trollope, who made 770 appearances for Swindon Town. So Dean Lewington has finished with 791 league appearances for MK Dons. And in theory, at that club, if you include both the Wimbledon and the MK Dons, he played a total of 949 games.
That's ridiculous.
For the club. It's only really this season where he only made 6 appearances this season, 20 the year before. But when you look at his normal appearances, like 44, 43, 46, 36, 41, 41, 43, 46, 42, 42, 40, 45, 45, 44.
That's
so
a guy
he pretty
that escapes
much
a lot of injury.
Yeah, which is why he's played so many games. And I thought, you know what, that is quite fitting. And I suppose the other stat that I've got to say today as well, because it happened today. So Jamie Vardy made his 500th appearance for Leicester today, which will be his final appearance for Leicester. And he also got his goal that took him to 200.
200 goals.
It was only right that he got that goal today. I did hope
so.
He did. So well done to both Dean Lewington for an absolute mammoth career that's come to an end,
and Jamie Vardy
for being a bit of a Leicester legend. So
yeah, fair play to him.
There you go. And the music.
Hello and welcome to episode 82. How are you?
Good.
Not
too bad.
Good to hear it. Right, let's go into the week's events and discuss,
football.
If we would, the football. Sheffield United 3, Bristol City 0, 6-0 on aggregate. Sheffield United go into the final of the Championship playoff.
Didn't watch that game. I watched the other one.
That was Sunderland 1, Coventry 1.
Yeah.
Sunderland went through 3-2 on aggregate.
Last minute goal of extra time. It was like the final. And the position that he scored in as well, he kind of curled himself up into a ball and it came off the back of his head, and it was
whatever
probably
works really, isn't
it? Ballard got that goal, who was the player of both matches.
Call it Sheffield United,
Ballard.
Sunderland, who's going up? I think you have to give it to Sheffield United.
I think so. I think they've obviously prepared for it.
For me, Sheffield United are head and shoulders above, I think, at the moment.
Yeah.
Sunderland are a good side, don't get me wrong. They are a very good side, but Sheffield United are dog.
But it is the year of the underdog, which we'll go into shortly.
Okay, right. So let's go on to Thursday.
Stockport, Wednesday. Stockport versus Leyton Orient.
Oh, of course it was, yeah. I was a little bit gutted, actually, because I've got a soft spot
I've
for
got to say, Stockport played very well, and they were unlucky not to win the game.
They were unlucky not to win.
But then their penalties were dreadful.
And the goal was offside.
Which one from this one as well?
The cracking goal that they scored where he lobbed the keeper.
Yeah.
It was offside, but it counted anyway. But yeah, Stockport went out on penalties. Very unlucky. So Leyton Orient are in the final of that one.
Yeah.
And they are in the final with Charlton because they finally overcame Wycombe 1-0. That was 1-0 on aggregate as well, so that was a close semi-final.
Yeah, it was.
Well, there was not much goal action in them. So now we have Leyton Orient versus Charlton. Who do you reckon?
I think it'll be Charlton, but I want Leyton Orient.
I've got my money on Charlton. Be honest, don't really care one way or the other, but I think Charlton will go through. In my humble opinion.
Certainly because Nathan Jones is manager of Charlton, I think he was a bit of a twat. But he's found his level. Again.
He's found his level. He's doing well.
So he's doing well. Can't really knock him for that.
Thursday, with a fantastic game. That was Aston Villa 2, Tottenham 0.
You Friday, mate.
That is Friday.
We just talked about Thursday.
Yeah, Friday. Sorry, Friday's game. Aston Villa 2, Tottenham 0. What a wonderful game.
Tottenham have got to have one eye on the cup.
Well,
or
they've
both
got to
eyes on the cup.
They're on their worst season in Premier League history, so
yeah,
they definitely haven't got their eyes on the Premier League. To be on 37 games and still not be on 40 points because they've only got 38 is a little bit shocking. Do you think either one of them, because United are in 16th and Tottenham are in 17th, unheard of. So they've got Tottenham 17th, United 16th, 38 and 39 points respectively.
Yeah.
United have lost 18 games this season.
Yeah.
And Tottenham have lost 21 games. 21 games.
They'd normally be up for relegation.
I mean, they'd be in relegation. Both of them. It's just that the three at the bottom are so piss poor.
Well, I think it was like the year that Derby got their record points. I think Reading had 38 points and Birmingham had 37 or something like that. So they probably both would have stayed up that season as well. But it would have been a bit dodgy.
United are on minus 12. Minus 12 for Man United. That's embarrassing,
but
isn't it?
If Tottenham don't beat Brighton, they are going to finish 17th.
Shocking. Absolutely shocking.
Man United have got Villa, and they will probably finish 16th or 17th because Villa will probably win that game because Man United will have played in Europe. They'll have gone all out for that game, which they've got to because that's what their season's based on.
Villa are going all out because they want to stay in the Champions League spots.
And Villa will be going all out because they've got to maintain that Champions League spot, which at the moment, it's going to be interesting going into the final game of the season because obviously Forest have won today, I assume. They were 2-0 up. I am assuming that that's the way it finished.
2-1.
2-1. So, yeah, so they won their game, which they needed to do.
So basically, Forest, City, Villa, Chelsea, and Newcastle are going for the Champions League spot.
Yeah.
Arsenal, depending on the result, Arsenal are currently playing Newcastle. It's 0-0. I haven't seen a lot of it, but from what I have seen, most of it has been Newcastle.
I don't think
Raya
you
giving
can.
The ball away.
I don't think you can finish outside the Champions League. I think Champions League is guaranteed. Champions League is guaranteed for you.
I think we've got Champions League, but we're not guaranteed second. Which I don't know how much money you get for each spot in the Premier League, but I know you get more. So obviously, the higher you finish, the better it is financially, which is pretty much all Arsenal have got to play for now.
In a way, I kind of hope Newcastle do win today because I think they've had a great season. I think Eddie Howe deserves the manager of the season. I think getting second will probably get that for him.
I think Arne Slot will get it regardless.
No, I don't think he will. I think if Newcastle finish second, I think that's a bigger achievement.
Oh no, it's definitely a bigger achievement because Arne Slot walked into a team that was already winning. Like we spoke about it last week. Liverpool have got 83 points. Do you know how many they had last season? Should we check?
Yeah.
Just Google Premier League table last season. And check because I don't think I don't think they've improved at all. I think he's basically just kept them where they were. Liverpool had 82 points they finished on. So Liverpool finished on 82 points, and this season they're currently on 83 with 2 games left. He hasn't improved Liverpool. He's just kept them where they were. Everybody else has fallen off. Or should I say everybody else? Arsenal and City have fallen off. Arsenal and City have both fallen off a cliff as well this season.
Yeah.
They're not even close. Like 20 points behind near enough. Or near as damn it.
Yeah.
That's just insane. So they're all lauding Arne Slot, he's done what Liverpool did last season. He's just kept them at a level. Arsenal and City have just plummeted. They're nowhere near what they were. But I still bet he gets Manager of the Year, even though he's come in and he's just kept them at the same level they've been at for the last 2 or 3 years. And in the same points that they've earned for the last 2 or 3 years. He hasn't improved them. It's exactly where they were.
Yeah.
So he's only basically won the league because everyone else is, well, not to put too fine a point on it, but shite.
Yeah.
And all these, the Arsenal fans that I'm seeing online, injuries, blah, 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 red cards, blah, 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 tough. We shouldn't be drawing the games that we've drawn. We shouldn't be losing the games that we're losing. It's not to do with injuries and it's not to do with red cards because the team is meant to be good enough anyway. If it's not, guess whose fault that is? Arteta.
I don't feel it's fully Arteta because he's not fully in charge of the recruitment side of things.
Do you know he's already arguing with the director of football over which striker to bring in? Director of football, Gyökeres. Arteta, Sesko. Arteta, you've been there 5 years and all you've done is make the team worse.
I'm sorry.
Shut the fuck up and let the director of football do his job.
You want to know something? Either one of them two strikers doesn't do it for you next season.
No, because we're not good enough.
And the reason they don't do it for you next season is because they're going to need bedding in because it takes a special striker to come in on their first season and do it.
Yeah, but there's no saying they can't.
So should they go for a Gyökeres or a Sesko, who are good in the leagues that they're on, but you're talking Ligue 1 and Bundesliga?
It's a step up for sure.
Well, actually,
he's in Portugal.
They're both in Portugal. Sorry, yeah, it's because the other one you linked with is Jonathan David from Lyon, isn't it? So that was the other player you were linked with, which is why I've got Ligue 1 in my head. So, and all three of them players, they're top players in their leagues, but that doesn't mean that they're going to step up and do it in the Premier League. So Liverpool, you hear them talking about bringing in a striker next season. They're talking about bringing in Isak. You know, Isak wasn't prolific in his first season because he came from La Liga, so he needed time to bed in. He's been bedded in now. You look at who's another decent striker. Mateta, you'd say he's a decent striker in the Premier League now. Yeah. And you know what? He needed time to bed in. He didn't score for his first, or like 1 goal in 12 games or something like that when he first started. I mean, so there's a bedding in period.
I don't think strikers can come over and just do what they've been doing. But it is a possibility.
Yeah.
It is a possibility. And, I mean, look at Højlund. He's got it in him to be a great striker because you see magical moments from Højlund.
I think
it's just so few and far between.
He doesn't get slated because he's got a work rate. Now, I've heard his work rate and his...
He doesn't get the service.
And he really does try hard in games, and that's why the fans aren't on his back. I mean, he cost 75 million, but they're going to want to see next season him starting to perform because he's had his...
If he's not getting the ball played through, where's he meant to be scoring from?
Well, that's where...
they're not providing him with the goal scoring opportunities.
But that's where Man United have got to turn around and go, right, what do we need next season? Because if they get going into the Champions League, if they win
they need a provider,
that competition, then they're going to be looking at that thinking, right, who's our provider going to be? Where do we need to look at improving the side? You know, Tottenham, where are they going to look to improve in the side? Because I'm sorry, on paper, Tottenham's team looked decent on paper. You wouldn't really argue with it.
They weren't bad at all. Like, you look at it and you think that's a half decent team.
Or do you now
I know they've had a few injuries.
Or do you now go?
Same again.
Do you sell Son at this point in time? Do you think, okay, is it
worth selling Son now? Do you think you'd get a lot for him? Is it worth it? Or is it better just to keep him there for all the income he brings in from his homeland? But
you got to look at teams that... So, De Bruyne, top player? Still? Why are Man City offering him a new contract?
I think he's a top player.
He is a top player. But Man City have obviously looked at this season and gone, something's gone wrong here. And they've obviously decided the money that the wages that De Bruyne is going to be demanding,
I think
perhaps
he's on 400, isn't he, a week?
Yeah, so perhaps they're now looking, thinking, you know what, he's the wrong side of 30 now.
Maybe.
Because you look at players like that they're potentially getting rid of as well, Jack Grealish.
Mm-hmm.
Another player who
was
is
that
getting
not just City flexing their financial muscles, though?
Maybe, but...
Because they never really needed Grealish, did they?
Not at the time, but he didn't...
It was just we're going to sign him because we can, I think.
I think Man City at the time were just buying one or two players just to strengthen up a position. Mm. And obviously something's gone fundamentally wrong this year, whether or not it was injuries to... I think Rodri's had a massive impact to it. One. Obviously, Haaland's been out for a lot of this season. They lost De Bruyne for part of the season as well. So they have had tough injuries. You know, they've got rid of Kyle Walker now. I think he might be on loan at the moment, but you imagine that he's going to be gone come the end of the season. So there's going to be a lot of rebuilding, because normally they get it right with their recruitment, and obviously this year it's not gone right at all.
No, it has gone sorely wrong, but they haven't got another Rodri. Now, if you remember, I said probably a year ago, maybe not quite that long, that City were a one-man team. Like, absolutely annihilated for it. And then the second Rodri's injured, they won like 2 in 20 or whatever it was, 2 in 18.
But they brought Gundogan back. Now, he's not been as good as a player when he left.
He's helped them, though. He's shored it up a little bit.
Yeah, but he's another player is the wrong side of the age bracket that they're looking for now. So,
yeah, of course. Yeah.
So, I mean, I imagine if they're going to get away with this 115, then they're just going to now go and spend some more money.
I think that's the thing, though, isn't it? Is are they going to get away with the 115? We just don't know, do we? We don't know what's going on, and it's going to be months and months.
But it's going to be tough.
Dragged out for ages.
But they're going to be... I can see them being really busy this transfer window, and I think there'll be a fair few players going out. I think a lot of their players will be in the available. Mm-hmm. And
I agree.
They will be looking, and maybe they might be looking at some bargains this time.
Maybe, you don't know. We also, on Friday, had Chelsea 1 Man United now, which I think just, for me, goes to show how poor the football's been this season, because it was a poor game. And
so, Chelsea's model. You think about where Chelsea were, and they bought a whole load of players, didn't they? They bought everybody that they could imagine.
Anyone from any club were linked with, Chelsea went out and bought and put him on like a 10-year contract or 9-year contract or whatever it was.
Now, that seems to have they've gone through a difficult 2 years where they've bought players, struggled. They're now getting a team together now.
Yeah.
And it looks set that they're going to get a Champions League spot and they're going to be back. Now, they don't really need to spend money in the transfer window. They can probably buy 1 or 2 players maybe to strengthen up. They could probably sell 4 or 5 that they know's now not part of what they want. Because he bought that many that they've tried and tested them over the last 2 seasons. Now they'll be looking to...
Part of the problem, though, wasn't it? They were constantly chopping and changing the team all the time.
Was it a bad thing?
Yes, because they kept losing.
But now that they've found some form and they're back up there again now...
It's taken a year and a half.
Would you accept a year and a half of a rebuild, though? Because you've been on a rebuild
we've been doing it for 7 years now.
Probably longer than 7 years.
It could potentially be longer than 7 years.
You're probably talking 20 years.
I don't know about 20 years. I think that's a bit much. Because even under Wenger was restricted financially.
Yeah.
So I don't include the Wenger years because not only were we consistently finishing in the Champions League spots with no money to spend.
Okay, so where do you start your rebuild? Is that Emery?
When Wenger leaves. Once Wenger leaves, because he was still winning FA Cups fairly regularly.
So Emery's gone, and you probably and there's a lot of pundits out there that said that they made a mistake by letting him go. And they're talking now that if they were to get rid of Arteta, people are saying he's a good manager, but is obviously not done things the right way. Like, they're blaming it on the striker, but they're saying he is a good manager and he will come good given time. And if Arsenal let him go, who knows? But they say that if they were to let Arteta go, Arteta will walk into another job and that team will reap the rewards of having him as their manager.
I'm going to go with Bull Dinky.
I know you would.
Because I just don't think he's got it in him. Do you know there was talk about him the other day going to Real Madrid? I know he's not now because they've got a manager, but how is he even in the conversation to go manage Real Madrid?
Maybe somewhere within the football world, people will seeing something that you don't see.
They would definitely see something I don't see. Definitely. Because, like, I wouldn't have him at a Sunday League side.
I mean, everybody knows that Arsenal need a striker.
And have done for years.
So
Arteta went
fundamentally,
out
it's
bought his mate from City, which we knew was going to flop. He flopped. Then we went out and bought a midfielder and put him up front. He got injured. We took another midfielder and stuck him up front. What are we doing exactly?
Scary the other day that he's still your top scorer with 9 goals.
I'm
And you wonder
surprised.
why you've not won the Premier League this season when your top scorer's got 9.
I know why we haven't. I don't wonder why we haven't. I know exactly why we haven't won the Premier League.
Because your top scorer's got 9 goals.
Because our manager's not good enough. That's why we haven't won it. That's exactly why we haven't won it. Because our manager is not good enough. It's as simple as that.
I don't think it's 9 goals have got a lot to do with it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's part of it, but the reason our top scorer's only got 9 goals is because our manager is fucking clueless. So we're not going to get anywhere. We're not. It's as simple as that. We're not going to get anywhere. Arteta's not going to win anything.
No.
All this, we're favourites for the Champions League. And then he came out and embarrassed himself and everybody else around the club and said, we've been the best team in the Champions League this year. No, we haven't. PSG have been head and shoulders above everyone else this year. Where the fuck did you get that from?
Yeah.
We might have got lucky against them in the league stage. That doesn't mean PSG haven't been phenomenal in all their other games. We've scraped through.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I don't understand where this comes from, that Arteta's so good and we just need to trust the process. What process takes that long? What are we doing? Growing trees? We've got to wait till Arteta's 60 before he starts doing well, but we'll just put up with it in the meantime. No. Get rid. Let's get an actual manager in. That's going to help. And that's going to actually do something and push the club forward. Because Arteta's not pushing the club forward. We're going backwards. We have 60-odd points this season.
Yeah. So we'll move on. So there was a game today, and Everton, congratulations, they won the last game at Goodison Park against us.
You missed yesterday.
We'll come back to that in part 2.
Right. So
Part 2 we'll talk.
Everton 2, Southampton 0.
Yeah. So it took us an hour to have our first shot. Now, Now, we played Manchester City, and there's been a lot of backlash going that we did not have a single shot in the game, and we're completely wrong for celebrating the fact, and we're disgusting.
I think you did what you needed to.
And this is, I think it was Cascarino on TalkSport who's now on my Belen list.
Belen list. Okay, I didn't know you had one then.
Yeah, Gabriel Bonjour's on that list.
Kind of worrying that you call it a Belen list. That's
concerning. But no, so he's on that list at the moment.
He'll never get off it.
Chris Sutton's a bit on that list as well. Yeah, he wasn't very happy with the shot. Now, what's going to really frustrate him is, on the hour mark, when we had our first shot, we celebrated like we scored a goal.
I don't see the harm in that, though. The fans are having... What's football about if it's not about having fun?
Yeah.
Like, why are we trying to stamp all this shit out?
Yeah.
I don't understand that. We're trying to hammer down anyone, like Arsenal. The Gabriel's celebrating good tackles and this, that and the other. And he gets hammered for it. we win a game and then Arsenal fans are getting slated for over-celebrating.
Yeah.
Why do we want the joy sucking out the game?
Yeah.
What's all that about, mate?
I have no idea.
Like, Southampton fans are going to the game. You know you've had a shocking season. It's not going to get any better. And your fans are trying to have fun in the moment.
Yeah.
Why are we slating that? I don't get it. I don't understand why it's such
Some
a
people
problem.
just don't get it. But anyway...
Cheer the fuck up, people. Life is short.
Yeah.
And if Southampton want to find joy in having a shot after an hour, why is the harm? Let them celebrate. Let them have fun. Let them just
You've
laugh.
got to, haven't you? You know, some of the chants that come out of stand. You're nothing special. You lose every week.
We lose every week.
You know what I mean? It's all good. You know, so it took an hour. We had 2 shots on the hour, pretty much, and then it was the 84th minute when we came alive, and we ended up having 3 shots hit the post as well on one of them.
It only took 84 minutes.
So we did have a few more shots in that game. I think we ended up with 6 shots in that game, but it was an Everton dominance. It was their last game at Goodison, so fair enough. They've gone off to a good send-off. I think Moyes has had a superb season.
I agree.
And I think Everton, if they do well in the transfer business, I can't see them anywhere near the relegation zone next year.
As they keep Moyes.
Unless they have a stadium hoodoo.
It's possible.
And that does happen.
It does happen. Next.
West Ham, Forest, we touched upon that. So 2-1 to Forest.
2-1. Yeah, Gibbs White, Milinkovic, Bowen with the consolation in the 86th minute.
Fulham beat Brentford away from home,
That
3
was 4
goals to 2.
3-2.
Brentford were winning 2-1 in that game before Kearney and Wilson got their goals there.
Wilson's was a bit special. That's what they were saying on the radio.
And then we've already mentioned that Jamie Vardy scored his 200th in his 500th game and
JV.
his final game, which is good because it was a home game and he's definitely not playing in the last game of the season.
The players give him a guard of honour, didn't they, at the end when he got subbed?
Superb.
Which I thought was a nice touch.
Yeah. So that's great for him. And Leicester 2, Ipswich 0, and it's currently half-time with Arsenal 0, Newcastle 0.
Right, let's go on to it, right? Arsenal are at home, and we're a great footballing side. Arsenal have had 5 shots with 2 on target. Newcastle have had 10 shots with 5 on target. Yet we're meant to be a great side.
Seems like Raya's saving the day.
No.
He's
Raya
currently
gave the ball away in the first couple of minutes.
Well, he's making up for it now. He's doing his bit to keep you in the game.
Do you know what you could do? Stop fucking giving the ball away. That'd be great.
Yeah. So that's where we're at now. So I think it's time to bring part 1 to a close. And after the break, we'll talk FA Cup.
Hello, welcome back from the break. Before the break, we discussed the week's events when it comes to the Premier League. Jamie Vardy's 200.
Yeah.
Arsenal being shit, etc., etc. So, in
We skipped
part
Saturday.
2, we are going to go back in time to Saturday.
Yeah.
Which was yesterday. For those that don't realise, the Sunday League Pundit Show is recorded on a Sunday. And it's called Sunday League because, quite frankly, we're fucking awful at what we do. Right. FA Cup final.
You know what?
Thoughts?
I watched it.
Right. We sat here. My son Zach was with me. And we were watching the final. And we're like, pick a side.
Yeah.
I literally chose Crystal Palace because their kit's better. I'm like, I prefer the kit, so I want them to win.
I picked Palace for the good of the world.
To be honest, I think anybody in this country that doesn't support City wanted Palace to win it.
Yeah.
One, because we're sick to fucking death of City winning everything.
Yeah.
And 2, because Palace had never won
anything.
Any silverware.
Yeah.
In their history.
Yeah.
Which I'm not going to insult by saying, a club of their size and blah, blah, blah. But they should have won something over there.
They've been there, haven't they?
They've been in 2
there.
finals, 1990, was it? In 2016?
Yeah.
I believe.
When Pardew did his dance.
Yeah, that came back to haunt him pretty quickly, didn't it? Because I don't blame him for dancing, because I mean, it was a fine goal that they scored from punching, I believe.
Yeah.
What a volley that was. I'd have celebrated that going, I don't even support Palace. But I didn't want United to win it, which, by the way, they did. Spoiler alert, because Palace obviously hadn't won any silverware.
Yeah.
So we get to yesterday, and it's all City.
It is all City.
And I mean, when I say it's all City, I mean, like, I don't remember Palace having a shot in the first 18 minutes.
Till they scored.
And then all of a sudden, they break.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was on 18 minutes. It's not. It was on 16 minutes. My apologies. So for the first 16 minutes, it was all City.
Oh, it was.
And then they break on the 16th minute. What a good break.
Yeah. What
a good decision and timing of the pass down the right-hand side.
Yeah.
Great ball cut back across. Eze cuts in front of the defender.
He's the one player you'd want on the end of it at the moment.
He is superb.
Yeah.
All this talk at the moment about Arsenal, we're looking at Nico Williams. I'm not interested. I'd rather have Eze. I think he's a phenomenal footballer. I love the guy. I think he's brilliant.
You had Eze.
I know we had it. That's where I was going next. I know we had him and we decided he wasn't good enough, but clearly he is.
Yeah.
And we could do with Eberici Eze. Not only that, he's an Arsenal fan.
Yeah.
That's why he started at Arsenal.
Yeah.
He supports Arsenal. Get him back in. He's good enough. Definitely good enough.
Not going to get him now.
Why? We're in the Champions League, they're not.
They're in Europe.
But they're not in the Champions League.
He might be happy there.
I think he is happy there, but that's not the point. He's still.
Some players will stay there.
Yeah, of course they will.
For another year.
I'd still push it.
Yeah.
I'd still push it and I'd still try and sign him. City then got, well...
They got a penalty.
The handball.
No, penalties first.
Well, the penalty, I think, was pathetic. He was going down before he got touched. Before he was anywhere near getting touched.
I think the problem was
For me,
it probably was a penalty. You couldn't see them overturning it.
I disagree.
Because he'd given it.
Because he'd gone down before the touch, I think VAR should be able to look at that and go, he'd already started falling. It's like, if he'd have stayed on his feet...
It was a poor challenge.
He could have... It wasn't the best challenge. But hear me out. If he'd have stayed on his feet, he could have easily jumped over the challenge and just avoided it. But because he was already falling, for me, that's not a penalty. You dived. Because you went down before you got touched. It's a dive. Okay. It's the definition of a simulation. Anyway.
They
got the penalty. Haaland picked the ball up.
Yeah.
Handed it to Mamouche.
Yeah.
We're not sure why. Now we missed it. We're definitely not sure why. Albeit it was a very good penalty save.
I think Haaland should have took it.
I couldn't agree more.
I didn't quite understand the logic when he stepped up and he was taking it.
I don't think Pep really understood it either, because he was interviewed at the end and he's like, I just leave them to it. It's their choice. They were on the pitch and they decided that's what they wanted to do. They asked him about the handball that happened shortly afterwards.
Okay, we're going to talk about that now then.
Pep's answer was, don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
To be honest,
bit of a different approach than Arteta would have made, because Arteta would have
said we're the greatest team in the world. That was a handball. He should have. Not only should he have been sent off, but he should have been arrested because he's done it against Arsenal and blah blah blah. I'm sick of hearing.
I have to say one thing though. It's a red card.
It is 100% a red card. Yeah. He handled the ball outside of his area, and had he not handled the ball,
Haaland was getting there first. And it doesn't matter where it is, Haaland
that's
is good
not
enough
even a
to score
difficult
that.
finish for somebody of Haaland's ability. It's just rolling the ball into an empty net.
Yeah.
And we all know that Haaland was getting there before the keeper.
Well, he was, because there wasn't...
easy goal.
Unless Henderson was going to go in head first.
Yeah, which we all know he's not going to do that.
Because he obviously wasn't going to, because he handled it. Yeah. So, it was... And it wasn't like it was even close to the edge of the box. He was far out. Mm-hmm. Now, Nick Pope got sent off for handling the ball outside the area.
True.
And I don't think that was a goal-scoring opportunity, because it was quite a long way out, really.
Yes, I'd agree.
So, more of a challenge. But, yeah, I think So Dean Anderson, who was probably the man of the match for that game, shouldn't have been on the pitch for most of that game.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my viewpoint on that. That 100% red card. You could see why.
Oh, definitely red card.
You could see why Rooney was fuming. I don't know what channel you were watching it on. I think I was on the BBC. I think.
Yeah, we'd have been on BBC.
It was on BBC and ITV, but I definitely
who
had.
chooses ITV for a football match?
There's some people that are anti-BBC. I mean, I don't like the whole TV license scenario.
No, I don't. But they do have better pundits.
Yeah, overall.
But yeah, I watched it on BBC and enjoyed the game as a whole.
I enjoyed the game as a whole because Palace won.
That's the main reason why I enjoyed it as a whole.
The other thing that annoyed me is how long it took them to decide that he was offside for the Palace second goal. Because I'm sorry, as soon as they showed the one angle where it hit him, it was like, yeah, he's offside, dead easy.
It was about a week offside, and it shouldn't have taken anywhere near that long. Didn't they have that semi-automated thing as well? How are they still
Maybe
getting
it takes that long for
Why
the semi-automated to go.
Why are we the worst country on the planet?
Because they basically said, the pundit said on the commentary, and it goes, oh, the ball's gone in. Right, it's hit him. If it hits him, he's offside. Mm-hmm. They showed another angle where it blatantly hits him.
Offside.
So then they know it's offside. So
it was that easy.
It was that easy. No.
Well, we'll just have a look at this angle. Now this angle. Now this angle. Now we'll just have a think. Now we'll go and order a pizza. Now we'll sit and eat the pizza. Yeah, go on, then we'll give it offside. Why is it taking that long?
Couldn't really argue with 10 minutes at the end of the game either.
No, not really.
Not really.
They were faffing about with VAR. I'm surprised it wasn't 20.
Yeah, and obviously Palace trying to slow the game down, which 100% is absolutely what they should be doing.
Who's not going to do that against Man City when you're winning 1-0 in an FA Cup final? And you've never won silverware in your life.
Bit of a
Who's not going to do that?
Fitness coach ruckus as well.
Yeah, what was that about?
Something to do with Gay in his head injury or something.
Yeah, but he was treated and he was brought off. It is what it is. Sometimes you're going to get a head injury. Obviously, you don't want players to get head injuries.
Somebody must have just said something at some point.
I guess. And somebody just...
We won't know what it is. It's like the whole... the owner and Nuno, it seems more innocent than it was. And whether or not that's true or not, they might have just fabricated a story to make both parties sound better.
Yeah,
we don't know if that was fully the truth or not.
We probably never will, unless Nuno hands his notice in the next week or so. Then you'll know.
Yeah,
if all of a sudden we are on Nuno's quit as manager, we'll be like, okay, so it was a bit more serious than we thought then.
Yeah,
and that's the only way you'll find out. Because it's one of them. It is what it is. You're not on the pitch. You don't hear what's said. You're never going to know the truth, ever. So it's just a case of trusting what you see in front of you. So if Nuno stays, you're going to assume it wasn't that bad. If Nuno leaves, you're going to assume it was that bad.
Yeah,
it's pretty much as black and white as that, really, as far as we're concerned. As fans. The Newcastle and Arsenal game has just kicked off again, by the way. If you want to know why Jim Jam is looking in that direction.
Yeah. Sometimes just seeing what's happening.
Just spinning round to have a look at the fact that...
Just see if anything's happening, which it's not.
No, not really. Arsenal were on the attack, but then they've...
But one manager you're definitely not getting Ancelotti because he's gone to Brazil.
He has gone to Brazil, which is upsetting because it means we're going to be left with Arteta. Even though he hasn't won anything again.
Now, something did happen at the end of a Villa game that I've just remembered. Martinez was emotional at the end of the game, applauding the fans and everything around him.
Yeah.
That now suggests that Martinez has played his last game for Villa.
Do you know who's in for him?
No.
Manchester United.
Okay.
The latest that I've heard is Man United want Martinez.
Now, I think that Villa are... maybe a club that are struggling financially and they have to sell their prize assets because every time they have a good season and they're pushing, Douglas Luiz looked like one of their best players going, and they've had to sell
Juventus.
him, and to Juventus, yes. So, and now it looks like Martinez. I don't think he probably wants to leave by choice, but I think
Didn't look like he wanted to leave by choice.
it sounds like he's been told, look, you're one of the
You're the one we're going to get most money for.
Yeah, because he's one of the top 5 goalkeepers in the world right now.
Top 3 for me personally, but
Yeah.
we'll go with top 5.
I just so yeah. So, but who do Van Villa go out and buy?
Ramsdale.
Ramsdale? Do they?
Yeah, quality keeper. They can have Raya if they want him.
It's not going to be Raya because you're going to keep Raya.
Just stop upsetting me. I've fucking told you about that.
So
He's
so
already
now
given the
you've
ball
got
through.
Kelleher and those, because we know that whoever's Villa's second choice keeper isn't going to be their first choice keeper next season. Because when Martinez has been out the team, they've not done so well. So it's going to be a keeper merry-go-round like we suggested, and I did
There's
not
gonna be a
expect him.
huge
I did not
merry-go-round.
expect him to be one of them.
I don't think anybody did, but if they are struggling
But if
with
Martinez
FFP
goes
or
to Man
whatever-
United, where does Onana go? Because I don't see Onana staying to be second choice.
I can see him maybe going somewhere in France. Maybe
Yeah.
one of the Spanish teams, Atletico perhaps, or
Atletico.
I don't think he'd get into Atletico.
I was
to be
going to
honest.
say they've got Oblak, haven't
Yeah, I
they?
was
So
gonna
where's
say,
he
yeah.
going?
Yeah, I don't think they'd get into. But you know what I mean. I can
Yeah.
see him going somewhere, Spain or Italy or France or whatever, just to get a game. But I don't think he'd get in another team, would he? In the Premier
Does
League?
Ramsdale stay at Southampton in the Championship? Are there too many keepers out there, and he doesn't get looked at?
I mean, he gets looked at. There's no two ways about it. He gets looked at. He got Arsenal into the Champions League when he was with us. He's the reason we
Or am I just hoping?
I think you're just dreaming a little too much. I think you need to wake up and have your Weetabix.
That he
because
gives
I'm
us
not
a
sure.
year?
I'm not sure he's giving you a year.
No, neither am I. So
I'd like him to.
I'd like a lot of the players to give us a year.
I'd like him to finally get a promotion as well as 3 relegations. That would be nice. But I can't see it.
No. But no.
He's going to be a hot commodity, is Ramsdale.
Yeah.
Especially with the massive merry-go-round that we're going to undergo at the moment.
Yeah.
I can see him going to Villa.
I hope we do it early. If he's going to go, I hope we do it early.
There's no point in me saying that because we're going to do it on the last 3 days of the window because we always do because Arsenal are what's known as fucking useless.
I'm sorry, but you need to sign a striker.
We've signed Zubamendi because obviously that's the position we needed filling.
No, you need to sign a striker, and it needs to be on the 1st of July. Or
Yes, but we
2nd
both
of
know
July, or wherever
we both
the
know
window opens.
that's not happening.
Because you need him to have a pre-season.
A full pre-season.
Yes.
We both know that's not happening. You know that, don't you?
Mm.
You know it's not going to happen. We're going to piss about. We're going to dilly-dally over £5. And it's going to drag on and on and on and on and on. And then we may get him in the last 30 seconds of the window.
Yeah.
And then he'll be over and he'll be all knackered and jet-lagged.
So,
and be
we'll
shit
see.
for 6 months.
We'll see. So I'm hoping for an exciting transfer window of
We are.
superb
I'm thinking.
positivity.
I'm thinking this year, because of what it is, I think what we'll do is when the season finishes, we'll do a couple of podcasts,
Yeah.
normal general podcasts,
Yeah.
and then we'll have a break over the summer, where we'll have like a 6-7 week break or whatever, just till the season restarts, and not release a podcast for a few weeks. Just have a bit of a break.
A break.
There's that much gone on, which you will hear about in the normal podcast that we're going to do, because it's been decided that we're going to follow on from a conversation we were having the other day together off air.
Yeah.
That's going to be brought on to air.
Yeah.
So
It would have been a great episode.
Warts and all, everything is being brought out.
Yeah.
So I think it still will be a good episode.
Yeah.
So what we'll do is once the season finishes, I think we'll go into a couple of normal podcasts, and then
Yeah.
we'll have like a 6 week break where we don't release a podcast.
Yeah.
And then we'll come back. Just to give me a bit of a break, really, because there's a lot going on at the minute, which everyone will find out about.
Maybe we have to play a game of golf instead.
That would be lovely. That would be really nice.
As it'll be summer.
I mean, obviously,
get out at like
I need to try and get a
4:00 or
weekend to
whatever.
myself first. But yeah, we'll try and sort something out.
We can even play Canuck or something at 4:00.
I'd be happy with that, to be honest.
Because in this weather and this stuff, we'd be okay for a full round.
Oh yeah. It's 3.5 hours. 3 hours. 3 hours at Cannock.
Mm.
Yeah, that'll be all right. So yeah, we could do that. So yeah, what we're gonna do is we're gonna finish the season off. Obviously, we'll have a couple of normal podcasts where
Season
we're gonna...
finished ages ago, mate.
It's not though, because we're still playing games till next week.
I was going to say Southampton season finished.
Southampton season finished before we actually kicked a ball.
Yeah.
You guys had decided you just weren't going to show up.
Yeah.
Probably just after your promotion party. So what we're going to do is we're going to finish up next week, which will be pretty much end of the season, won't it? You've got the Europa League final. Is it on Wednesday this week?
Yeah. So we've pretty much only got... So basically we'll have next week. Then the week after we will have to talk about the end of the season because we'll be recording before the final Premier League games because we're early on the Sunday anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll miss the Premier League next week. And then we'll hopefully have all the conclusion of all the promoted sides and we'll know who's going to be in what league.
We will.
And that'll wrap us up nicely.
For a couple of normal podcasts.
Yeah.
And then we'll take a break over the summer then.
Yeah.
Where we don't do anything.
Yeah.
Just have a bit of a break from it, I think. Might do us all a bit of good.
Maybe.
And then we'll see where we're at when we come back at the start of next season.
Yeah.
So yeah, it should be good. So it's one of them where there's been a lot gone on this week, but it feels like there hasn't been a lot going on. I think it's because it's all been like playoff games and...
Yeah, you've lost
like that.
the
It's
Championship, League 1, League 2, National Leagues all
done, dusted,
done and
finished.
dusted.
So there is quite a bit less to talk about. So yeah, so maybe it has been a little bit shorter this week, but we will be back next week with the conclusion of some of the Europeans and some of these things are going to be finished.
So we've only got 2 weeks of football left.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much, because Arsenal's next game is the 25th of May, which is next Sunday. Next Sunday.
You're winning.
We are winning, yeah. Declan Rice scored it. In case you're wondering. Yeah, so I think what we'll do is we'll wrap it up this week. Nice, short, compact episode this week, so people don't get too bored. And then we'll come back next week with some of the conclusions. And then we'll go into some normal pods, and then we'll have a bit of a break.
Yeah.
So, thanks very much for joining us. Are we
No
going to bail
problem.
Tin Ribs out, or are we going to leave him with another week? Should we leave him another week?
Another week.
Another week,
Yeah.
Fuck him. He'll be alright. It's his own fucking fault. Right, okay, so thank you very much for joining us, and we shall see you lovely, lovely people next week.